you have been asking for a clear sign, but what if the silence is the sign? You pray, you wait, you wonder. Why does it feel like Allah is distant when you need Him the most? Why does every door seem shut, every path clouded in uncertainty? You look around, and nothing makes sense. The silence is deafening. The trials relentless. Ya Allah, where are you? But what if I told you? This silence is not a punishment. What if this is the most crucial moment of your journey, the moment Allah is molding you, refining you, preparing you for something greater than you could ever imagine? Look at the prophets. Every single one of them faced this silence. Every single one of them walked through the wilderness of uncertainty before they reached their destiny. Musa, alayhi as-salam, was cast into the river as a baby, raised in the house of the enemy, then exiled to the desert for years before he was called to lead his people. Years of silence before the revelation at Mount Sinai. Yusuf, alayhi as-salam, thrown into a well by his own brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. Did he question? Did he doubt? Perhaps, but he waited, and in that waiting, in that silence, Allah was preparing him for leadership over an entire nation. And then there was our beloved Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He sought answers in the cave of Hira, yearning for clarity. And then the silence came. No revelation, no response, just an emptiness that must have felt unbearable. But what followed? Iqra, the first words of the Quran. The silence was only a prelude to the greatest guidance mankind has ever known. So why do we panic in our own silence? Why do we fear the emptiness, as if Allah has abandoned us? O you who have believed, seek help through patience and prayer. Indeed, Allah is with the patient. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:153. The silence is not a punishment. It is an invitation to grow, to reflect, to strengthen your faith. When everything around you is stripped away, when friends disappear, when life feels like it's closing in, that is when you have no choice but to rely only on Him. And that is exactly where He wants you to be. Think about this. When a storm rages in the ocean, what does the sailor do? Does he panic? No, he anchors himself. He trusts that the storm will pass, and he holds on. This is your storm, and your anchor, your salah, your dhikr, your unwavering trust that Allah never lets a single hardship go to waste. But here's the real question. Will you trust Him in the silence? Will you hold on even when you don't understand? Because what comes next is something far greater than you can imagine. You feel it, don't you? That weight pressing on your chest, the suffocating sense that no matter how much you strive, how much you beg Allah for relief, the hardship refuses to lift. It lingers. It grows. And in your weakest moments, a whisper creeps into your mind. Where is Allah? Why is He letting this happen to me? But tell me, when does gold shine the brightest? Is it when it lies untouched, or when it endures the scorching fire? When does the believer rise? In comfort or in trial? You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are simply in the forge. And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient. Surah Al-Baqarah 2, 155. This is not a punishment. It is a process. The soul, just like the body, must be strengthened, refined, purified. Look around you. Every creation of Allah follows this divine law. The seed must break before it grows. The night must fall before the dawn. Even the clouds must gather, heavy and dark, before the rain brings relief. And so, too, must the believer be tested before he is raised. Musa, alayhi as-salam, stood before the Red Sea, an army behind him, his people trembling. There was no escape. But did Allah open the sea before the test? No. He waited until the last moment, until the desperation peaked, until Musa raised his staff in faith. Then, and only then, did the miracle unfold. And you? You stand before your own Red Sea, staring at an obstacle that seems impossible. The hardship, the betrayal, the loss, the heartbreak. It feels like there is no way forward. But what if the sea is waiting for you to raise your staff? What if your deliverance is already written, but the test is not over yet? Do the people think that they will be left to say, "We believe," and they will not be tested? Surah Al-Ankabut 29-2. Somewhere right now, someone is praying for the ease that you take for granted. The roof over your head, the food on your table, the air in your lungs. Do not let your pain blind you to your blessings. Do not let the whispers of Shaitan convince you that Allah has forgotten you. He has not. He is watching. He is waiting. He is writing a story for you that is greater than your limited mind can comprehend. You ask, when will this end? But have you asked instead, what is Allah teaching me? Because the moment you shift your question, the moment you stop resisting and start trusting, is the moment your test turns into your transformation. And when it ends, when the hardship finally lifts, you will not be the same person who entered it. You will be stronger, wiser, closer to Allah in a way that you never were before. And you will realize the storm wasn't sent to break you, it was sent to build you. You thought it would be over by now. You thought the hardship would pass, the weight would lift, the doors would open. But here you are, still waiting. Still carrying the same burden, still walking through the same trial. And deep inside, something is shifting. Exhaustion, doubt, a quiet, creeping despair. You don't say it out loud. You still pray, still raise your hands, still whisper, "Ya Allah, help me." But somewhere inside, the fire is dimming. Somewhere inside you are asking, how much longer? How much more can I take? And in that moment, when your heart feels like it cannot bear another second of this pain, you must remember, this is where faith is born, not in ease, not in comfort, but in the moments where you have every reason to give up, and you don't. Or do you think that you will enter paradise, while such trial has not yet come to you, as it came to those who passed before you? They were touched by poverty and hardship, and were shaken until even their messenger, and those who believed with him said, "When is the help of Allah?" Unquestionably, the help of Allah is near. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:2-14. The help of Allah is near. Near. But did you hear the words before that? They were shaken. Even the prophets were shaken. Even the righteous asked, "When will relief come?" So what makes you think you will not be tested? What makes you believe you can reach strength without struggle? Look at Ibrahim, alayhi as-salam. He waited decades for a son, only to be commanded to sacrifice him. Imagine the test, the pain, the incomprehensible difficulty. And yet, in that moment, what did he say? "O my son, indeed I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you, so see what you think." And his son replied, "O my father, do as you are commanded. You will find me, if Allah wills, of the patient." Surah As-Safat 37, 102. This is patience in its purest form, not just waiting for relief, but submitting to the process, trusting in the unseen, walking forward even when you do not understand. And what happened? The knife never touched his son. The hardship was never meant to destroy. It was meant to elevate. You see, the test is not about the outcome. It never was. The test is about you, your heart, your reaction, your ability to hold on when everything around you is telling you to let go. So when you whisper, "How much longer?" Allah is asking you, "How much do you trust me?" Because every second you hold on, every moment you fight the urge to despair, you are strengthening something far greater than you realize. Your soul, your patience, your ability to endure in the face of hardship. And just when you think you can't take another step, just when you feel like you are about to break, that is when the dawn will rise. That is when the gates of relief will open. Because Allah's help is never late. It is always exactly on time. There is something terrifying about silence, about the stillness after a storm, about the long, empty corridors of waiting, of uncertainty, of unanswered prayers. You have endured the pain, the loss, the struggle. You have cried in sujood, begged for relief, whispered into the darkness, "Ya Allah, have you forgotten me?" And yet, nothing changes. No sudden miracles, no clear answers, just the deafening quiet of a test that seems to have no end. But tell me, when does the seed sprout? When does the rain fall? When does relief come? Not when you decide, not when you demand, but when Allah, in His infinite wisdom, decrees that the time is right. And perhaps you dislike a thing, and it is good for you. And perhaps you love a thing, and it is bad for you. And Allah knows, while you know not. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. You know what you want, but Allah knows what you need. Yunus, alayhi as-salam, sat in the belly of the whale, trapped in darkness upon darkness, with no way out. He had left his people in frustration, expecting justice, expecting an answer. But instead, Allah placed him in isolation, alone, forgotten, or so it seemed. But in that moment, in that depth of despair, he did not complain. He did not ask, "Why me?" He did not cry out, "How long will I suffer?" He said only this, "There is no deity except you. Exalted are you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers." Surah Al-Anbiya 21:87. And, with that one sentence, with that single surrender, Allah commanded the whale to release him. Did you notice? It wasn't his suffering that saved him. It wasn't his waiting. It was his submission. Because the test is not about endurance alone. It is about trust, about surrendering the illusion of control, about realizing that your hardship is not a punishment, but a process. You are not being buried. You are being planted. And growth takes time. Look at the sky just before dawn. It is the darkest it will ever be. Look at a mother just before birth. The pain is the most intense right before relief. Look at a believer right before his breakthrough. His patience is tested to the very limit. This is not by accident. The silence, the stillness, the waiting. It is the final lesson. The moment when you must decide, do I still believe? Do I still trust? Do I still hold on, even when I cannot see the end? Because what you do in this moment will determine everything. The help of Allah is near. But will you still be standing when it arrives? You have walked through the fire. You have endured the silence. You have waited, prayed, and held on when everything inside you screamed to let go. And yet, the doors remain shut. The test lingers. The relief you were certain would have arrived by now is nowhere to be seen. But let me ask you, have you ever considered that your answer is already here? That what you are waiting for is not coming later, but is unfolding right now, in a way you do not yet understand? Think of Musa, alayhi as-salam, standing before the Red Sea. To his people, it looked like the end. The enemy behind them, the vast waters ahead. No escape, no way forward. But what did Musa say? Indeed, my Lord is with me. He will guide me. Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26:62. Not, my Lord will rescue me soon. Not, I hope relief will come. But a certainty, a conviction that even before the sea split, Allah was already guiding him, and you are standing before your own sea. You see nothing but obstacles, nothing but walls. But do you think Allah is unaware? Do you think He has abandoned you? No, He is already moving things in your favor, already shifting the universe in ways you cannot yet perceive, already writing a story for you that will make sense only when you look back. But faith is believing before you see it. Faith is knowing that just because Allah is silent does not mean He is absent. And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. Surah At-Talaq 65:3. Sufficient. Not when the trial ends, not when the hardship lifts, not when relief arrives, but right now, in the middle of your pain, in the depths of your struggle, because Allah is not only with you at the finish line, He is with you in the waiting, in the breaking, in the moments where you feel forgotten, and when the time is right, when your heart has learned what it needs to learn, when your soul has been refined, when the moment decreed before you were even born arrives, then the sea will part, and you will walk through, not as the same person who entered, but as someone who knows that every delay was wisdom, every hardship was mercy, every moment of silence was a lesson in trust, and when you finally reach the other side, you will not just be relieved, You will be grateful that Allah did not answer your prayers any sooner than He did. And now, here you are. The storm has passed. The trial that once felt unbearable is now a distant memory. You look back at the nights you spent in sujud, the tears you shed, the moments when you thought, I will never survive this. And yet you did. But tell me, did you truly survive? Or did you emerge reborn? Look at yourself. The person who first entered this hardship is not the same one standing here now. The heart that once questioned, why me? Now whispers, Alhamdulillah, I understand. The soul that once begged for an escape now thanks Allah for the lesson, because now you see it, what was once hidden in the depths of your pain, the wisdom, the mercy, the transformation that could only come through fire. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Surah Ash-Shar 94:6. Not after hardship, not somewhere in the distance, but with it, inside of it. Woven into the very fabric of your struggle was the ease you could not yet perceive. Think back to Yusuf, alayhi as-salam. The well, the prison, the betrayal. At every stage it looked like his life was falling apart, but every loss was leading him closer to his destiny. If his brothers had not thrown him into the well, he would never have reached Egypt. If he had never been imprisoned, he would never have met the king's servant. If he had never been forgotten in that cell, he would never have risen to power at precisely the moment his family needed him. And in the end, when he stood before his brothers, the same ones who had abandoned him, left him for dead, what did he say? There is no blame upon you today. Allah will forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful. Surah Yusuf 12:92. No anger, no resentment, only peace. Because Yusuf understood. He saw what his brothers could not, that what they meant for harm, Allah had used for good, that every trial, every hardship, every silent moment of suffering had been leading to this. And now, so do you. You see why the doors remained shut when you begged for them to open. You see why the hardship lingered when you pleaded for relief. You see why the silence stretched on longer than you thought you could endure. It was never about breaking you. It was about building you. So now, you stand at the end of this journey. But here's the real question. What will you do with what you've learned? Will you return to the comfort of ease and forget the lessons of the storm? Or will you carry them forward, using them to strengthen others, to guide, to inspire? Because someone, somewhere, is right now where you once were, crying in frustration, begging for an answer, drowning in doubt. And maybe, just maybe, you are the sign they have been asking for.